everybody. We are back and ready for another season of The Pulse. I know it's been a while since you've seen us. The last episode was back in 2020, but we are in 2021 and we have some amazing content and topics for our upcoming episodes. So, allow me to introduce myself. It's your girl Armani, the activist, and your host for today's episode. And I'm going to pass it off to my fellow co host.
Hey, you guys, it's the boss lady. How you doing? It's Samir. Good to see y'all in 2021.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Dre. We're back in 2021. New year, new vibes, a new hair color. We had to switch it up for you guys.
Well, we're going to just go ahead and just hop right into the topic for today, or the topics for today. And the first one is about this new movie that just came out last week, known as Judas and the Black Messiah. I know we've got a lot of buzz about the movie. A lot of people are just talking about it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. And just a little background about the movie, if anybody doesn't know. It's a movie based on a true historical event that about Fred Hampton, the deputy chairman of the Black Panther Party of the state of Illinois, who is portrayed as the Black Messiah, and how FBI informant William O'Neill, who poses to be a loyal member of the organization, assisted in diluting the Black Panthers' progress in Fred Hampton's assassination. He is obviously posed as the Judas of the movie. So the first question I'm going to ask you guys is, what did you learn from watching that movie, or what did you take away from watching it?
I really love the whole Black Panther story. Quite frankly, I always really been drawn to it. I like reading about it, but I really never realized how intrinsic it was. I know that the FBI had a lot to do with the death of Fred and Mark Clark, and I knew that they died because of them, and they were killed purposely because they
Right.
were considered terrorists, and that's why Ashada Shakur is in here, and a lot of other people had to go into like hiding. Some people went to jail. Some people had to exonerate themselves. I know that was
Yeah.
all from that time period, but I never really like knew the entire thing. So I did like that it kind of broke it down for me. I did. I wanted that. Now I'm about to go back and read some more books. So yeah, I did like that.
No, I
Dre, did
agree.
you
I
want to go?
think I've always been kind of like involved or like invested in like the whole Black Panther idea, like the idea that there is not, we don't have to depend on the government that doesn't work for us. Does that make sense? Like
Hmm.
we can have our own systems if the systems in play don't work for us. And I think that's a great idea. I'm very into like researching that and getting into that. Outside of the story itself, I think the movie itself was like great cinematically, like from a movie director standpoint, as far as like lighting, dialogue, all that other like technical stuff, I think it was really good. I think it was a very nice story to tell. I think it was a different story from the usual 12 years a slave story. I think it was very interesting
Mm-hmm.
to see a story where not necessarily even Black people in power or Black people in struggle. I think it was a combination of both, and I think that's what makes for a really interesting and good story. So I think the movie is definitely a good watch for anybody out there who's wondering if they should or should not. I think it's definitely good watch to invest in.
Definitely. And actually, you kind of like brought up definitely well, part of the question that I was going to ask you guys next was, did Judas and the Black Messiah honor Fred Hampton well enough in this film? Because I feel like, honestly, with the of course, Hollywood is Hollywood, so obviously they're going to amplify certain things. And I feel like, of course, but I think who was it that I think I can't remember who produced it. The guy who produced the Black Panther movie, the Black
Okay.
isn't it? I think it was him. I gotta look. I gotta go back and look at it. But I definitely feel like um the whole entire movie was pretty good overall, but I just feel like, of course, you don't want to turn people off from like wanting to understand that the Black Panthers, they wanted to use self-defense and to make sure that they protect their community. And they showed all of it, honestly. I just wanted to know what your guys' opinion was on it.
I feel like it came out at the most appropriate time. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we're at a point where people are at that point, and when you at the beginning of the movie, it talks about that one individual doesn't cause a rebellion. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
individual that causes the rebellion. It's actually the conditions in which we're living. And back then the conditions were more of on a segregated, you can have this, you can have that. And I've always thought, slavery didn't necessarily end. We're still slaves. We're just
Hmm.
slaves to the media, slaves to propaganda,
Corporate
slaves
America.
to the thought process that we can only do A, B, C, or D. And I feel like it's coming to a head right now. I wish that there were more like-minded people, so we can create a system, because I feel like and they couldn't break it down the way that they did before, because of the way that we run in social media. It's a different light. Like, you had to do everything by word of mouth or call somebody on the telephone. We could create any kind of thing now, and it could be to 1 million people in one day, and over 1 million people in one day. And I feel like that's why this movie is really appropriate for right now, because revolution is inevitable, um constantly throughout history, and it's just what it is.
Um, I think a really good point that I took home, even I don't think this is a new lesson. We all know the whole skin folk and kinfolk line, like we all know how it goes, and that's not a new lesson. But I do think it was very interesting to see how deeply it was played out. You know what I mean? Even into like the Black Panther Party being one of the pillars of like the Black community at the time. As being something that we can look to for power and inspiration. Even that being able to be so easily infiltrated by what we were supposed to be protecting ourselves from, I think was a very interesting story to tell. And it was simply, I would say it was simply for the lust of power. You know what I mean? The last name was escaping me at the moment, but William, he got to taste a little bit of money, he got a little bit of power, and he thought that he kept going because he like I said before, I think it was definitely the lust for power, and how easily that can
Definitely.
infiltrate even the strongest of the strongest of systems that we can build for ourselves.
I've come to like the realization that in history often idolize our leaders, and
Mm-hmm.
and when we do that, that's what causes that I want the power.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what I try to do is, when I build somebody up in a team that I'm working with, I want the team to be so strong that nobody knows who the leader is. And I feel like when you do something in that manner, that takes away that I want that power.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing them, they're chanting his name, Chairman Fred. I want that. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
though
Mm-hmm.
that's where we as Black people get caught up. I mean, I feel like all people get caught up, but I notice, even in pastoring and in churches, I got to be better than that pastor,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
I got to be better than this community activist, or they're giving out food on Tuesday, so I'm going to switch to Tuesday. No, every day of the week could use somebody giving out food.
Mm.
So I feel like that's a downfall, and I'm glad that they showed that. They showed that in the movie, that there's always that we going to do better than you, because I feel like if we didn't have that, then maybe he wouldn't have died.
Mm.
Maybe he would
Yeah.
have lived. Maybe they would have progressed further. That lust for power.
Yeah, piggybacking off of what Samia said and tagging back to the question that Armani had asked, I think that in honoring Fred Hampton's legacy, I think I'm not sure if there's actually a good portrayal of him because I don't know much research on him. And after watching the movie, I'm going to do more research. But I think it was very interesting to show him as a leader, to show his willingness to like not be he didn't want to be the name. He didn't want to be the head. He didn't want to be the title. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet. I'm going to give you a quick warning. Spoiler alert. Um, when they were talking about taking him back to prison and they had given him the
Hmm.
money, like, hey, you should take off and run. And it was very much like you're giving me this money to run off, but in the 5 years that I could do this prison time, there's so many more people that we can help with the medical
Exactly. I
facility.
love that about
And
him.
I think
Yes.
that was so excellent to put that point in
Hmm.
there to show that he did not want to be a name or a title or a head. And it was like, yeah, the people were screaming Chairman Fred, but he wanted to be for the people. Like that was
Right.
his whole thing,
Yes.
for
Right.
the people.
And he was different too, because if you like Samia was saying in reference to the different entities in the different areas. So you had, I think you had some, I think the people, it was two different groups other than just
Hmm.
the Black Panthers. And I think um, he was like the catalyst for bringing everybody together, which is like really beautiful because he was like, he really wanted to make sure that everybody comes together as a collective and not just the Black Panthers, because he knew that as a collective and people all across Illinois, they can make necessary change. So my other question I was going to ask you guys was, do you think we will ever have another leader rise up with the same vision that he had? Because I feel like our generation, I mean, we might be able to get to that point where we can rise up, but I don't know if we can find a leader like that who is solely about the people, because he kept saying the people, the people, the people, and that's what it's about. Because definitely somebody who is going to worry about not themselves, not about the power, not about the money, but
Hmm.
about the people. So, what do you guys think?
I feel like the leaders that pop up, they start with that and um, become extremely discouraged because we're not in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s.
Hmm.
And people are constantly thinking that somebody's out for something.
Hmm.
And when they're confronted with that, they get upset. I feel like somebody who is going to do something that Fred Hampton did, or anybody like Fred Hampton did, is going to have a stronger, thicker skin than he
Hmm.
had to,
Right.
because those people are
Our
looking for
generation is
help, and
sensitive.
now people aren't really looking for help because they're so
Hmm.
used to not getting it. So they're
Hmm.
like, oh, I could do this by myself. So I
Hmm.
think it would just take a lot of thick skin. It would take perseverance for that person. But I do believe there are people who at the heart of them care
Hmm.
for the people around them and the people that they come in contact to, and they want to help. I believe that. I know those type of people.
Yeah, I agree with Samia. I do believe that there are people with the heart and the mindset to be for the people and to do the work. But I also think that there has been a generational shift. You know what I mean? Where like Samia said, also we're not in the 60s and the 70s anymore. We're in very much a social media generation, an I generation, where anybody can become famous and viral in an instant. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Anybody can get their name in lights in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people are doing this, the lust for power. A lot of people have the search for power, and especially when I can post a video and go viral and get a million views and get all types of money for literally doing nothing. So if I can do something like this and put my name behind it, then yeah, absolutely. Anybody would jump at that opportunity. But like Samia said, I do believe that there are people with the heart and the mind to do the work and to be the leader that is for the people. But I think it's going to be difficult, one, to find a person like that, and two, for that person to rally an entire generation behind him, a generation that is so obsessed with wanting to be number one in the top spot and
Mm.
the leader and having your
Right.
name.
Right. Right.
Horrible.
I mean, people are getting famous for putting Gorilla Glue in their hair.
Stop. Oh my gosh.
Sorry,
About that.
it's sad.
But no,
That's what we've come
yeah, we
to.
definitely, and then somebody else is just mocking the same thing. But well, we're gonna go ahead and take a break. So make sure you guys grab your favorite snacks, some popcorn, some ice cream, whatever you like to eat. And while you're at it, go like, subscribe, and tell your friends and your family about the Pulse. And we'll be right back. All right, we are back with the Pulse. I hope you guys are ready for another new topic. Um, we're going to talk about Black history because it is February. And of
Yes,
course,
yes.
it's not just in February, it's
Go back.
365 days of the year if you are Black. So, but one of the questions I did want to ask is since last year's protest, which got everybody's attention about how important
Mhm.
Black Lives Matter and how much Black history matters, do you think people are gonna continue that narrative outside of the month of February? Because I see how like there's an influx of just people talking about Black history this month, but let's just wait until March and the rest of the year and let's see what happens. So, what do y'all think?
I was gonna say, oh, you go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead.
All right. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think we're going to see something similar now that we see every year, of course, where people and corporations get on and they post their Black Lives Matter hashtags and they post their, Black History Month, infographic images or whatever. They get the intern to throw together in the back office, the day before Black History Month
Oh
starts. We all know
gosh,
how
I'm
it goes.
telling you.
But I think it's interesting this year in particular, considering, like Armani had mentioned, the riots of last year. I mean, well, the summer that just passed with, geez, the name has escaped me. It just literally just
George
lost.
Floyd,
George
Breonna
Floyd. Thank you,
Taylor,
thank you.
yeah.
Totally just escaped my mind. With the rise of George Floyd and everything, and people um, are now much more aware of the Black Lives Matter
Hmm.
movement, and being in quarantine and whatnot, not having many other things to distract our attention right now, and having things when it's important, it's very important. I think people now are going to take advantage as much as they possibly can of the fact that Black history and Black Lives Matter is such a big, important thing this year, especially. I think people are going to try their best to capitalize off of it. I think it's going to be very interesting to see who says what and who does what this month.
Hmm.
I think everybody should keep their eyes open and keep their eyes peeled for those who are being honest and legitimate in their concerns for Black people and Black lives, and those who are doing it because they see it as a gain to get some likes, clicks, followers, some money, some sort of clout. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be
Attention, all
interesting.
of it.
It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, I've lived for 31 years, and
Mhm.
every single February, everybody's like, we're gonna do 365 Black History, and usually I'm like, that's not gonna happen, and I'm pretty sure it's not gonna happen. But if you remember the 8 years that we had Barack Obama, it was cool to be Black, and now we have Kamala. So, and not to mention everything that Dre said. Of course, it's still very much hiding awareness about police brutality. It
Yeah.
happens every day, so it's
Yeah.
not like we don't get a new story every other day.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And I just feel like now it's a little bit more edgy. It's cool to be Black, and then on top of that, we're gonna capitalize off of we care for the Blacks and all that.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that right now it's still so much crazy going on with the race relation. Everything has to
Mm-hmm.
be about race. Everything is race. And I just feel like this is a different type of uh, atmosphere environment, and that's not going to go away. However, I know that eventually people are going to stop posting about Black history, but it's going to still be a lot of I support. I feel that capitalism isn't going to go away. That
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
capitalism is
yeah.
going to continue, if not get worse. Over time. You never know, they could do something worse than what they've already done. And they never cease to amaze us. And the police have changed laws, and I just feel like it's just going to be more of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's sad. I don't really like to pull into the Black History Month, but this year I found out why it is February.
Yes.
After I found out why it was February, I do feel a little less.
Hmm.
How you gonna give us 28 days? Okay, I get it.
Yeah, a lot of people got upset about that, but until you actually know the reason why
Mm-hmm.
it was in February, Frederick Douglass's birthday, and I believe it was Abraham Lincoln's to honor him as well. So it was,
It just they just stretched it out, and it
hmm
became that month. I'm like, okay, but but
and we got
but
to
I
give
just
honor to Carter G. Woodson for even, because first of all, it was actually Negro History Week, and then
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
extended it to a
just
month.
week.
Absolutely.
So it's, we still got to appreciate the fact that it is a month that we
Mm-hmm.
can, celebrate our blackness. But then, of course, always honor our ancestors 365 days of the year with so many
Yeah.
different ways.
And I
Mm-hmm.
just don't like the fact that we kind of only celebrate Black history post slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like. I don't know much about my heritage before we came on the boat from England, I will admit, but it's been my life's mission to find out as much as I can find out. And on top of that, I like to research information on like Black Moors and our interaction during the Renaissance, our interaction
Mm-hmm.
during all. I want to know everything. I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, we showed up on this boat and then we got our freedom and then we started creating things. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, like that's not that's we were kings and queens and
Definitely.
royalty and intellectuals and artists, and people used us to create art.
Mm-hmm.
Exploited
They
us.
considered us beautiful before we considered ourselves beautiful here in America. So it's like I want to know all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I don't really like Black History Month, because I feel like it only deals with post-slavery. But I
Right.
do appreciate him and expanding upon Black History Week.
Definitely.
I wanted to note really quick. I do agree with what Samia said that Black History Month has become very one-dimensional. Black history in general, not even just the month. Black history, learning it in schools, learning about it wherever, the little bits that you can piece together and find. It's become so very one-dimensional. Even with that being said, I think, shucks, I had a really good point I wanted to make, and I totally just escaped me.
It's somewhere in there. Come on.
Come back to me. Come back to
Okay.
me.
Well, no, I think, I definitely think that the way that we really can actually take the time out to just learn our Black history is just doing our own research, because depending on the school system is not. I just read something the other day that they're going to make it optional in some states,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah,
kids can make
it's
it
more than one
optional to
state.
learn Black history. Oh, okay.
It
So
better be optional for my kids to learn the other stuff. Then
exactly,
I don't
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
don't play with me.
No,
Did you find it?
I think it's interesting. What I was gonna say, I remember my point now.
Yeah, there you go.
Especially in like the social media space, I would say
Mhm.
that Black Lives Matter and Black history has become such a commodity. It's
Mm,
become something you can use to your benefit, to your advantage.
exactly.
Um, it's always so funny to me when you go on like those Twitter threads and you see people like attacking Black people, like saying crude things or whatever, saying whatever out the side of their mouth that they want to say, and then you click on their profile and you see BLM in the bio.
Oh,
It's the most it's the most interesting thing
it gets
ever
more likes
because
and more attention.
people don't realize. I think it's part of a realization thing that saying Black Lives Matter means you have to actually care about Black lives, if that makes any
Hmm.
sense. Like you don't just care about like Black bodies in the street, you know what I mean? Like you don't just care about Black people who are in jail, you care about me as a Black person on Twitter trying to mind my business, and you just come to attack me. You should care about the Black woman who's going across the street with who's crossing the street into the grocery store with her son, and you fly by and like splash her with water. That's a Black life that should matter to you. You know what I mean? Like the angry woman who's upset with the cashier because whatever situation was going on, and you see her as, oh, just another angry Black woman. That
Mm,
Black life matters. You know what I mean? And I don't think people realize that saying Black Lives Matter and focusing on Black history means that you have to actually focus on the Black people. You know what I
mm,
mean? Not
Right.
just the history,
yeah,
especially the post-slavery history that we were talking about.
right.
It goes to before slavery, and it goes to even after slavery, to the modern day slavery, because like Samia said earlier, slavery is not over. So
It's
even to
not.
modern day slavery.
Yeah, and
Yeah, you
being a
definitely.
Black woman, I can completely identify with what he's saying.
Yes.
I work in corporate America,
Mm-hmm.
where it's mostly white men, and even
Yes.
the white women. They like one of them came up to me this week and was like, "Oh, they treat us women so bad." And she was like, "I couldn't even imagine being a Black woman." And I was thinking, like, I feel what you're saying, but you just
Like,
like.
do you realize what you just said, ma'am?
So I'm like, okay, so I understand she was trying to recognize my struggle, but it just didn't come off that way.
Yeah.
Was she
Yeah.
really?
The
Was she
self-awareness.
really trying to recognize?
Like, but that's what I deal with every single day.
Oh,
They cut all my
girl,
hair. I think I
I'm
did
not
these
ready
locks
for
on
it.
purpose just to be rebellious. I did these locks on purpose to be rebellious.
I'm
But
not ready for it.
you know,
I'm
so
gonna wear my
being
fro one day.
you said what?
You should wear your fro one day and be like, boom.
That's why I did it though. They were talking about my fro as if I wasn't in the room.
Mm.
Oh
It
my
really made
gosh.
me. It really made me feel some type of way.
Mm,
yeah,
I
yeah.
am not ready
But
for
yeah,
that.
so it
Gosh.
just be like that.
And
Well,
those are
I
just
got. Go ahead.
no. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
No, I was gonna say I was gonna close out with the last question, but
Sure.
if you have anything to say, go ahead. You sure? Okay. So, the last question I did have, just what are some ways that ourselves and our audience can all be a vital part of making sure people honor Black history 365 days of the year?
Mm.
You
I
go.
think you want me to go first. Okay. I think it goes back to what I was just saying a few minutes ago. You know what I mean? Making sure that everyday interactions with Black people, especially, show that you really care about Black lives and show that you really know
Right.
and believe that Black lives matter. You know what I mean? It's not just about when you see another incident of a Black man being shot by a police officer or being harassed by another Karen or whatever the case may be. It's everyday
Yeah,
Black lives that should matter to people. So,
definitely.
I would say educate yourself.
Hmm.
Try to educate the people around you. It's easy to get angry.
Yeah.
It's easy to get angry when you're frustrated with someone who is clearly doing the opposite of caring.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like if you educate a person, they can hear you. They might seem like they're not receiving it, but that information needs to go to them. They need to receive it. They need to hear it. They need to understand it. At some point in time, they might not understand it when you say it. It might be years before they understand it. But if we keep just going home like, man, you know what they said to me today, or we have to educate even
Definitely.
those who we feel like don't deserve the education. We have to educate our children. We have to educate ourselves, and we just have
Yeah.
to really put forth the effort to understanding, humanity, and how, even it doesn't matter what color you are. People work off of how you make them feel.
mm-hmm.
So,
Definitely.
make the people around you feel comfortable enough to confide in you their
Hmm.
misunderstanding.
Absolutely.
And then,
Right.
it's a lot of different things we can do, but I feel like that's number one, and we need to start changing the narrative of, social media. What's the word? Like gospel. Like, it's not
Gotcha.
gospel. It's not gospel. We need to start changing that, and going back to what real reality is. I think reality TV has flattened mind our brain. Our
Mm-hmm.
brains
Mm-hmm.
retarded,
Yeah.
and we can't really grasp that there's actual reality. This is not reality, so we need to
Hmm.
change that too.
Right. And I just, just to answer the question as well, I know for myself, I do this thing called Flash Black Friday, and I just started it. I literally just started in the beginning of the month because I was going to do it last summer, but it fell through. But I like to use my social media a lot to really like convey, to uplift Black people, to empower Black people, to educate Black people because I love it. I love to do that. Like, that's just me. And I'm not saying everybody has to do that, to use their social media.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it in so many other ways. Of course, you can instill it into your children. You can talk to somebody on the street about it. Like, just it's just, learn how to just expand other outside of just Black History Month, because we want everybody to understand our rich history and to honor our ancestors 365 days of the year. But any last remarks from you guys?
No, I think this was great.
Yeah, I'm
Well, uh-huh.
so glad we're back at it.
Yes, definitely.
Miss you guys.
Well, yes, we miss it. Well, that concludes our discussion for tonight, and we hope you all enjoyed it. Please, once again, like, subscribe,
Yeah.
share, and tell
Yeah.
everybody to
Come
come and
on.
watch New Kingdom TV. This is New Kingdom TV, y'all, and we're going to just conclude this out. This is the Pulse.